Hi, this is Eric Martin with Board Game Geek. I'm here today looking at Thunderbirds, a cooperative game by Matt Leacock, designer of many cooperative games, and publisher Modifius Entertainment, which is a UK publisher, publishes role-playing games and is now branching out into board games. And they've got a lot to work on. I mean, this didn't even have the name of the game on it when I got it. It's not the way to sell stuff, guys. You gotta, like, first level marketing, you gotta tell people what they want. You might want to decorate the box with something other than picture this lady who is not a member of the Thunderbirds, as far as I know. It's just like it's kind of amateurish. I mean, the cards, just like slips of paper, and what is it, like real prototype level quality. Here's an overview of the components of Thunderbirds, prototype components, but enough to give you a sense of the gameplay. You are all playing as members of International Rescue, and you are trying to defeat the scheme of the Hood, this ominous purple token here, which, again, will differ in the actual publication of the game. The Hood has three parts of his scheme up here, and you must defeat all of them in order to win the game. There are random events that are put up here as well. These are also random from a deck, so you don't know necessarily which parts what the scheme's going to look like until you actually reveal them as the game progresses. There's 1, 2, and 3. There's also 4s. If once you get good, you can actually upgrade it a little bit. There'll be 5s and expansions to make things even tougher, in addition to allowing you to do some other things. Okay. How you play, like other Matt Leacock cooperative games, on a turn you're going to take actions, 3 actions in this case, and then bad stuff happens. And the actions are fairly straightforward in terms of what you can do. You can move. Everyone's in a vehicle. You don't have people just walking around the world, because that's a very inefficient way to try to stop bad things from happening. So if I were, for example, Virgil Tracy, everyone's going to have one character dealt at random, or you can choose who you want to play at the start of the game, and they have different bonuses for each character. So each game will be different depending on who you have and how many players you have. There's a solo option as well, where you have 3 characters and you rotate through them one at a time in terms of having control. Okay. So if I were Virgil, I can move. I'm already in Thunderbird 2. I can load Thunderbird 4 as a free action. I got lots of room in the back here. I can fly to Australia. I can drop him off. Okay, that was one action. I can move again. Where do I want to go? Well, to know where you might want to go and what you might want to do, you look down at these cards here. These are disaster cards, and they tell you where a disaster is taking place: Africa, Indian Ocean, Mercury, out in space, and the difficulty for stopping this disaster is in the upper right. There's a roll on 2 dice, special dice, mind you. At the bottom, you've got the reward you get. These are jokers. This is a specific token. These bonus tokens you get for defeating it. And you got some modifiers here. If you meet these conditions, then you get bonuses when you're trying to stop this scheme. So, for example, Pits of Peril. If Virgil's in Africa, I'll take my second action and move to Africa. My third action, I will try to defeat this Pit of Peril by rolling these dice. Problem, however, with an 11, these dice only go 1 to 5, and on the other side is a picture of the Hood. So you roll the dice. Not good. If I'd rolled a 10, which could happen, I'd add 1 for Virgil being in Africa, and I would defeat this. That'd be a good way to start the game. However, I had a worse way to start the game. The Hood symbol came up, so I have to advance him on the track. Okay, when he reaches this space where you reveal this bad thing, Thunderbird 3 has top speed of 1 instead of 3. So I would only be able to go into space very, very slowly until we discard this bonus token, which we have to acquire first by solving these schemes. You can also draw fab cards, and they give you all sorts of special powers, but you don't know what you're going to get, and when you draw one, you have to advance the Hood on the track, which is not so good. So you might not want to do that. If you're up in Thunderbird 5 here, watching over the entire Earth, and there's a hole in the track down here for disaster cards, you can take an action to move one disaster back. You're watching over things, you're relaying information, which is lessening the chance of this disaster actually happening when you get down to the track here. That's how you can think of it anyway. Why is it bad if a disaster card gets to the end of the track here? Well, because the disaster actually happens and you lose the game. So you're trying not to do that. One other way to lose the game is if any of the hood schemes go off. That is, if the hood reaches this space before you have actually collected these tokens and gotten rid of this, and only after you get rid of this do you get to see what the next part of his scheme is and what you need to defeat it. In this case, I need one player to bring two of these tokens to the moon and be on the moon with those tokens while we have these pod vehicles in the North Pacific. Need multiple characters moving all around, being in the right location at the right time to get everything together. Defeat this guy. That's the second way to lose. Third way to lose is if you run out of disaster cards, which Leacock says is improbable, but could happen. You gotta have 3 ways to lose. That is a Leacock cooperative game. After taking your 3 actions, you draw a new card from the disaster deck. If it's a disaster, you slide everything down, drop it in place. The other type of card that could be in here is the hood advances, in which case he walks along this track and possibly turns over an event or causes you to lose the game. Hope that doesn't happen. Okay, so you're going to have this constant wave of disasters coming, which has you moving all around the world to try to defeat it. As you do, you get the bonus tokens. Each of these tokens has a use as well. Intelligence lets you reroll one of the dice, so, the hood didn't show up after all. You've got courage, which adds 2 to the value of a roll. You can take additional actions. You can get technology to bring out the pod vehicles, which, as you can see, you might need in order to defeat the hood scheme. In addition, some of the disaster cards call for devices to be in certain locations in order for you to get bonuses. So it's good to just create this stuff and throw it all around the world. Hopefully in a well-reasoned and organized manner. Okay. And Ingenuity lets you take a fab card without the hood advancing. You get something past them for once. After you've taken your turn, the next player goes, and you keep taking turns in that manner. 3 actions, draw a disaster card. Hopefully, do not get to the end of the pile here. Defeat the scheme in time. Don't run out of cards, and you'll win. There's an overview of Thunderbirds, and I'll mention right off here that I've played a couple of times, and I've actually watched more games than I have played. And how that happens is I went to a press event at Spiel 2014 where Modifius had organized this, was showing it off to certain people, just to give an idea of what's coming so we can talk about this. You know, this is how the press works. You get invited to certain things in advance that you can't talk about until it's time to talk about them. Okay, so be it. It was fascinating to be there because I have not watched Thunderbirds, right? I was a gotcha man, right? That was my thing, not Thunderbirds. And it was crazy to be there with all these guys from the UK who were just giddy with excitement, looking over every part of this game, you know, and the characters and the disasters and the vehicles themselves, even the prototype, you know, right, where it's just like a little laser cut thing here for Thunderbird 2. These guys were just like, you know, they're 8 again. They're just young and reliving all this. And as every disaster art comes up, they're sort of, oh yeah, I remember what happened, and blah, 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 going on through here. It was really exciting to watch. And they'd finish a game, and they'd just be like, Eric, do you want to play? And I'm like, no, I'm fine watching. And they're like, okay, good. You know, and I'm going to be Virgil this time. I'm going to do that, blah, blah, blah. They were just exploding with excitement for it. Okay. And I don't have that experience because I haven't watched the show. So I'm looking at just the gameplay element. And it is a Leacock cooperative game, right? You've got a list of actions you can take. You're going to take some of those actions. Bad stuff's going to happen. You got to monitor all that. You got some information of what's out there, right? Pandemic, you see the board with some cubes in various places. So you've got things, trouble spots already that you have to go visit, right? It's good. It gives you a purpose. You don't just start with a blank board and then see what happens here, right? You gotta have something to do. Same thing with the disaster cards here. You lay out some disasters, you have some ideas where you want to plan, where you want to move stuff. Also, what bonus tokens you're going to get from that, which then relates to the hood scheme. Are they good for the hood scheme, or are you going to use them for something else? Because one aspect with this game, again, I've only played twice, but I've lost both times, and I feel like I get behind the black wall here. I'm behind the curve. You want to start defeating these schemes so you get the bonus tokens, which then allow you to win on other disasters, right? They're going to modify the dice or re-roll a dice or get a fab card, provide a backstop for something, or get you the pod vehicle, which is going to give you a bonus on, it all sort of escalates together. It's a little trickier than some of the other ones. It's definitely harder than the Forbidden games, but it's a little trickier than Pandemic because you got all the characters on the board. You can only move your character, of course, but you can move others with their permission, right? You can swap people in and out of vehicles. I'm going to move the next guy on my turn. I want to go here, but I can take you with me. We'll do this. I'll drop you off in the vehicle. And we get Fab 1 there. We'll get a bonus. All this stuff sort of escalating together. We sort of work out what do you want to do and what do you want to do, when it's going to happen. And of course, a lot of it depends. Do we actually defeat the scheme? If not, well, then we need a backup plan, or we're going to bring in something else, or we're just going to sit there and roll the dice, all 3 actions. That's a bad plan, because we did that once and it was just like hood, just bad things happening. You got to stay ahead of that wave of disasters that's coming. So this is the base game. There's all sorts of expansions for the Kickstarter campaign that Modifius is doing. There's at least 4 expansions right now, which add level 5 scheme cards and additional characters that you can play, each with different models, other event cards, all sorts of stuff going in here. Again, if I'd watched the show, I might have some idea what these things are and why they're important, why they're exciting. So missed out on much on it here. Another interesting thing that's happening with this campaign is that Leacock has been sort of editing the rules on the fly. Right? He made this public document, everyone can comment on it, and so you watch these modifications as you're playing and you're reading through and trying to do the rules. You're sort of updating them every day, and you're going through here and you're just like, oh wait, okay, no, this is clarified, I got this now. It's an interesting open source way of doing this, and of course he's got a reputation, he's got people who follow him, he's got a lot of people to do this. This might not work for every designer, but it works well for him. All of that part where after you defeat the scheme, you have to... I don't know where that came from. I think someone logged in, hacked his account. Luckily, that's not part of the rules anymore. You do not have to crow like a rooster. That's kind of an overview of the game, right? So you got a Matt Leacock cooperative game, 1 to 4 people. You do a 1-player game, you're going to have 3 characters, and you put them in a row, and you do the first one, you move it back of the line, you do the next one, you do the next one. So you have different powers that are rotating through the game, which gives you a different challenge. You need access to those multiple powers to kind of put everything together. This guy gets a bonus for sea rescue. This guy gets a bonus for land rescue. And this, you get bonus tokens for Lady Penelope if she's in Europe. And there's all this stuff that you're trying to fit together. And it's going to vary a lot based on who you have, what the disasters are, what the events are, and how well you're actually succeeding with everything. So, good luck.